Hey there, Fresh Movie Pod listeners. Just a quick correction at the top of the episode. Victoria, me, attempts to reference Stan Mikita, the Slovakian-born hockey star and center for the Chicago Blackhawks from 1959 to 1980, a massive force in hockey and a famous name in sports. Only I called him Don Mikita. There is no Don Mikita. Well, there is, but he didn't play 22 seasons in the NHL. My sincere apologies to the city of Chicago. On to the show.
Or what's the Webbies? You know you have to pay to submit to that shit? Like,
I'm not surprised.
Not surprising, but like I looked into submitting our show, $1,000 or something to be a new voice, submission. I'm like, those are the people that have to... Anyway.
Wow.
The least money. Hey, Chelsea.
Hey, Victoria.
You know what I need?
What?
Breath of Fresh Movie.
Me too.
Cool, let's get it done.
That's a movie I like to see.
This is a Breath of Fresh Movie, a podcast where I, Victoria Harley,
And I, Chelsea Pope.
we watch a movie neither one of us has ever seen, and then we talk about it.
Yeah.
And we may not talk about every plot point, but we will talk about any plot point. So that's like your spoiler warning in general.
Dope.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey.
This week, we're talking about the 1985 comedy Summer Rental starring John Candy, which I was I suggested this, and I'll take the hit for this one. Or the heat. And the heat. The hit and the heat. Because we've been doing a lot of great movies, but very serious, heavy stuff. And I was like, okay, we need to like mix it up and do like a dumb summer comedy.
Sure.
Which we did.
Yeah.
But, yeah. What did you, first impressions?
Yeah, no, it was like, it was on, I mean, it was just pretty standard, inconsequential fare. Like this is just like a not as good version of National Lampoon, Family Vacation. It's kind of like John Candy doing his best in like the wrong part or just not the right type. Like it just wasn't like the things that clicked the most were not not when he was playing this like this self-pitying kind of curmudgeon-y dude. Like that's why he plays the opposite of that in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and that's like really sort of the role that he would thrive in. Whereas he's John Candy, like obviously he did a great job with what he was given, but it's still
he's a big warm Canadian guy. Don't make him a villain.
Don't make him into this like Ben Stiller. When Ben Stiller doesn't play a high character, he plays like like a Meet the Fockers type dude.
Right.
And it's sort of that like, oh, I stubbed my toe. Everything's going wrong. They're going to fire me.
Totally.
Everybody hates me. I'm annoying. My family wants to
just embroiled in nonsense.
Punch me, like that. So like his best comedy is when in the face of all of that, he's like super bright and
John Candy.
When he's John Candy, when he's having fun,
Yeah.
So yeah, this is definitely, I feel like a little bit against type or something, but also maybe it just could have just been better because I don't want to blame him.
No,
he was funny,
I think I came into this with it's okay. I came into this I think with a lot of hope, and like I was like, oh, this should be good, like a goofy 80s movie, and I think even I kept up the enthusiasm and the optimism for like a good 20 minutes.
Sure.
Because the thing that did like just the first funny thing to me, speaking as a redhead, was when he gets horribly sunburned, just lying there in the sun. Like, and he has that bad sunburn the rest of the movie seemingly. And there was something about that it was very like, I'm a beleaguered dad, and like I have to like I do all of this for my family, but I don't get to enjoy it. I think you're absolutely right about the comparison to Vacation. Like, and I think Janet,
this is much more of like a Chevy Chase type of role.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And Janet Maslin, the New York Times film reviewer, was like, yeah, this film owes a huge debt to National Lampoon's Vacation because it's just another one of these kinds of movies.
Right.
And I did like Archie the dog. Like, I think that was my first laugh just because Archie was I love a good dog actor. We know this.
Sure.
And a cat actor.
Yeah.
A cat actor. But yeah, I mean, it's like we have this like unfortunate, like the trope of the like large husband, hot wife thing.
Yeah, or just, it's in general with these movies, usually it's like the dad is being a goofball and the wife is just being hot and nice.
Yeah, no personality, and
you know, or they, you know, not that she wasn't like a competent actress. She has like she has quite an extensive. She has an extensive TV and film career from what I saw for sure. But this is not one of she's not given much to do other than to be like, oh, have a grape. I'm taking a picture.
Yeah,
you can do it, babe. Oh, don't listen to the kids, and then just silence. You know,
that was a good run. I like that.
It's not a lot of.
Yeah, like there was some part where she's like, I like to see you in a bathing suit, and he's like, oh, my mother was right, you're twisted, you know. It's like they have this like,
they have like a sarcastic sense of humor. Like she like shouts I love you, and he's like, I'm already on the road or whatever at the start of the movie. It's like they have a sassy kind of relationship. Clearly,
okay, yeah, right at the top, because I'm paying close attention to like what's gonna happen. I'm like, you know, like can't look away at those first couple scenes. You're trying to piece it together. But she hands him, you know, he's got coffee. He's saying it's tea. She's like, it's a tea. No, it's coffee. And then you find out he's an air traffic controller. I'm like, bitch, let him have his coffee.
Yeah.
Lives depend on him.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of what sets this whole thing off. He almost causes a midair collision working as an air traffic controller because a pretty fly high stakes is on the radar.
Yeah, fly. Yeah.
It's very Brazil. And they're like, okay, you're taking a mandatory 5-week leave, which sounds like awesome. You know, you can get fired. They're like, here, so they take a vacation, and that's it. They go down to Citrus Cove, which is a fake place in Florida, and they're going to rent a house for a summer or for a month, right? Hang out on the beach. And that's like, you know, I don't want to say like more or less the premise. It's just that once they arrive, it turns into like a slobs versus snobs kind of like, we're the kids from the other side of the lake.
I think it's a bit messy what was going on, because it wasn't like with National Lampoon with the like it's very clear cut and like simple, which they can blow out, you know, the silliness with the simplicity of like, this guy's just trying to get to his destination, and everything that you can think of that would go wrong will go wrong. They kind of implement some of that, but then it turns into more of a, like they start putting more of the obvious, like rich guy bully, like, I don't know. They just felt they were kind of layering other.
Yeah. There were a lot of different tropes. It was a little,
it was like muddy.
You're right. It's muddy. It's muddy. It's a little confused. I mean, there's some moments I did enjoy. I mean, waiting in line, that like long ass restaurant line. Yeah. And they, you know, the rich people walk past and they get the last lobsters. And I mean, there is something like, I don't know. I guess I'm just empathizing with my parents who every time they took us somewhere, you know, and you're just trying to have a good time with your family and like, you know, and then they keep, I mean, what I did like too is they keep ending up at the Barnacle.
Right.
Like every time they can't get the table at the rrestaurant they want, they get sent to the Barnacle. Yeah. Oh, you need a boat to rent? All the boats are gone, but you can go to the Barnacle. And it's Rip Torn, who's like the proprietor of the bar, who he was, I liked seeing.
He was a highlight of the film. I think the more like eccentric characters, like I would have rather watched more of them, but I know this movie's not essentially about that, but this is what happens when you restrict someone like John Candy into this role where he has to be more of the straight man type of figure, but these wacky moments kind of eke out, but then there's these other wacky characters on the side. I don't know. I definitely liked Rip Torn as Scully the pirate. I thought he was definitely actually a highlight of the film, because for the first time I was like, we're gonna take some broader strokes here, like,
and he ends up really being the one who kind of saves the day in the end, because again, so this whole story, I mean, it's weird. It devolves then into this, we're gonna race you at the regatta.
I hate that trope so much.
Like, if we win, we get to stay rent free all summer, and if we lose, then we'll leave and pay. And it's just
the only time that's ever worked was Heavyweights, which is also a certified rotten film. But that one was good.
You're like, I like that one. Yeah, this was tough. There were some, again, moments. It was like a lot of little bits kind of strung together.
Sure.
Like seeing John Candy wearing a Chicago Blackhawks hockey jersey.
But then they're
at
from
the beach.
Atlanta or something, right?
That's right.
Which I thought was very confusing, because I was going to mention that too. I was like, it's funny, the visual that he's wearing the Chicago,
but it doesn't actually,
you know.
I mean, we know, like, maybe as audiences that, like, right, okay, he's from the Toronto area originally, but like that's not in the story.
Yeah. I mean, he can support whatever team he wants. There's no dissing the Chicago.
Oh yeah, and he's got it's like a Don Makita jersey. It's definitely like a classic,
a specific,
very very like heroic, you know, Chicago.
Right. And they're drawing a specific type of
but there's something about that cold weather sport gear at a beach.
Yes, exactly.
It's very funny.
I think that, and the fact that it's Chicago, so what's colder than Chicago? You know,
yeah, I mean, maybe it was Winnipeg or something.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, it was rough. But you know, I had a question, which is this a kids movie? Is it a kids movie? Because there's a whole plot line that involves a woman who just got breast implants constantly showing people her implants. Right?
Which is supposed to, I mean, again, I think this is a movie that, it's supposed to be a family movie. So that's supposed to be a funnier scene for like the adults, I guess. But then
that was odd.
Yeah, that was odd. I mean, I kind of liked that bit. I do sometimes like the trope of there being the hot wife and then the subversion of like the cuck. Like he's like, well, feel my wife's boobs. Yeah, I don't know if you can feel them.
I did think it got funnier by the last time they did it. I liked it. Because it was straight up, oh, he hasn't seen them yet. Like, he was basically like, you realize like he's into this. Like there's a and I did like that. There was also a couple of just physical comedy moments I liked. Like there's a whole incident where the house they rent, they go to a place on Beach Street, but it turns out the house they really wanted was on Beach Lane. So they've essentially broken into somebody else's house and they're sleeping, and they come home in the middle of the night. But when they're trying to leave, they've brought the family dog with them. He has this enormous bag of kibble. It ends up spilling out completely on the floor. And I mean, it got me. I did.
No, there are definitely fun moments. I really liked, not necessarily the cool. I didn't literally love the bit where the cooler was leaking everywhere when he's walking on the beach, but I did love every aside that was happening when like he drew over the hot dogs.
Yeah.
Like, you're not even supposed to be cooking on the beach. Like he just starts to moralize. Like that was when John Candy got to have more, like you could tell he was improvising. And so he was having some freedom in that absurdity to be like, he's not showing, he's doing the thing that makes him so funny in Planes, Trains, Automobiles and Uncle Buck, where he's taking almost like a defiant position against the ruckus he's causing, where there's this sort of like, oh, wait, who leaves their sunblock with put the cap on that? Oh, well, you know, he's flipping it back, which is when I thought the humor landed, as opposed to him just, oh God, oh sorry, you know, like
once he's the one who's outraged, like, you know, it's funny,
I think him just flipping the script, which makes it that made that scene funnier, as opposed to, I didn't care nearly as much about the physical fumbling as I did about his attitude about it, which was this very sort of like, oh, it's just water. Like,
it's fine. Yeah.
It's just very,
it's true that like, it really was fine. There was really, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I mean, he's kind of spoiling a few people's day, but I'm sort of with him. I'm like,
oh no,
it's just fucking water. It's just ice water.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. There's something about his, no, that was a good scene. I mean,
it's an obnoxious thing that's also very funny, that he's sort of letting it happen, and he's not falling into the sort of, oh gosh darn it, oh shoot, you know, kind of like when he was he was cracking the eggs in the car on his way to work earlier in the film.
I hated that.
I didn't like that, because that's not John Candy to me.
No, it's
like, oh, what if he's just physically fumbling, but then he's griping the whole, like, it's the griping for me. I'm like, no, I don't like that.
That whole opening with all the self-talk, I'm totally with you.
I don't like that
terrible.
gripey, like self, you know, he's grumble, grumble, like he literally was like grumble, like.
Yeah, that opening scene was like very not John Candy, very unsatisfying.
Yeah.
It's funny. This was, apart from like one other film that was more of a Canadian production, this really was John Candy's like first starring role, like leading man in the feature film.
Just, I don't know, like, what a waste. But then then it locks in something like Uncle Buck, where it's more like, this is more of the kind of thing where like, you can have him do his physical antics and be silly, but a lot of what makes it great is like his smile on his face when he's doing it. Like, this is fine.
Yeah.
What's wrong? What do you?
No, absolutely.
You know, like, we're just having a good time.
And that's, I believe what Carl Reiner even said was like, John Candy, he's like this great painting in a really enormous frame,
right?
You know, but he has this really handsome little face that like is
he's just very charming.
Yeah. Oh, incredibly so. He was paid $800,000 for this part. So yeah, he got his.
It's good. It's good.
We don't usually dwell on that, but I just wanted to mention.
No, but good for him. I mean, yeah, this is supposed to be his, like, I'm imagining post, like, the other films that you did Stripes and like
right
that he did Splash and whatnot. I'm sure there's a lot of
Splash was might have actually been a year before this. This same year also Volunteers came out, where he's with Tom Hanks in that one as well, and also Brewster's Millions.
Right.
So this year, 1985, 3 films with John Candy come out,
which is why I'm sure this did as well as it did initially in the box office, because of, I could tell, like, you're looking at the numbers, you're like, oh, first week, like, John Candy, oh my god, and he's gonna be the main guy, and what's not to like, and then the diminishing returns of like, oh, but we're not really getting to like, we're not getting the fun John Candy.
Yeah, this movie is definitely not, it was not adored by critics. It has a 17% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's, I think, fairly deserved.
It feels generous even. So this film was developed at Paramount Pictures, and you know, I say developed, I mention it just because it's not exactly the same as a screenplay, but the idea came from, it's based on somebody's actual vacation. It was talent agent Bernie Brillstein, who had this experience of going and with his family, and basically he said, I was fat in Los Angeles and we went to the beach, and I just felt like this big oaf, and you know, we had weird neighbors on either side of us at the house we rented. One of his clients is John Belushi, and at that whole scene where John Candy comes back to the house and there's a party happening and there's a guy sleeping with wet, like, sand-covered trunks in the bed upstairs, that was John Belushi, like, basically in real life. So this story must have just been told casually to somebody, but 3 executives or I don't know if they were executives, but 3 people at Paramount developed it. Barry Diller, who went on to like work at Fox and a bunch of other shit. Like, he greenlit The Simpsons and other stuff. He's also married to Diane von Furstenberg. So Barry Diller, Michael Eisner, who of course Disney, and Jeffrey Katzenberg, also big name at Disney during the 90s. They all developed this, but then went on to get other jobs before this film was even made, and a new president came in, and it was pretty typical, I guess, when a new president come in, that they would just clear the slate. Like, no, I'm gonna lead, you know, new projects. This president was like, no, the script worked. I don't know if I agree, but he said it's a good script, and they went ahead and went forward with it. Also, they had it, basically, he's like, well, we had a 6-month gap in our schedule. We needed a product. So they filmed this thing in about 7 to 9 weeks. It was a really quick shoot. It was all done in Florida. They rushed this thing through post-production and got it out by August.
There you go.
So it was a rush job. Yeah. And the president of Paramount said, and I quote, "It's a good script and we had no product. And when all the geniuses are through, that's as good a reason as any to make a movie."
I mean, they got theirs. It made money.
It did
well in the box
really
office.
Good.
But this is another thing where I just think it's funny. It's like, of course it did well initially, and then you could just tell that just like no one was leaving the theater like wanting to tell their friends about it.
No, you're absolutely right.
This was just the
diminishing returns. Yeah. And that kind of logic for making a movie is dumb. Like that's not a good.
It's just the quick, like, we're pumping up the studio to getting some easy-ish money.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. I mean, it really did do well. It ended up being second to Back to the Future that year.
Yeah.
Like, it did that well at the box office. Just some other movies that were in the theaters at this time. Back to the Future, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, European Vacation, Real Genius came out the same weekend, Weird Science, I think it's funny those two together, Fright Night, Cocoon, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, and The Goonies. And it's worth mentioning that the oldest daughter in this movie was in The Goonies, played by, let's see, I have her name here. So yeah, Carrie Green played Jennifer Chester. Karen Austin, who played Sandy Chester, the wife, it's worth mentioning, was 29 when this was filmed. And she was not even 12 years older than the girl playing her daughter.
Wild. Yeah. Absolutely wild.
I mean, she had a rockin' bod at the beach. I was like, this isn't realistic.
No. 29.
29. Yeah.
I remember when I was 29.
Yeah, me too. Okay, I have some reviews.
All right.
These are fun. Paul Adonacio of the Washington Post said, "This is the kind of movie that makes you wish you had poison ivy, because at least the scratching would occupy your mind." Not the best dig, but to see that in print is kind of rough.
It is a testament to like how tedious this movie
It is tedious.
does
I had a
feel.
hard time paying attention.
I mean, Clifford was more entertaining. It was more engaging because it was just so outrageously like what the fuck. Whereas this was just everything was all the comedy like was pretty mid at best. You know, it was again, you're not letting John Candy do what he does best, which is like be a big goofy guy with a smile. He's like you're having him like in moments of like shame and embarrassed. Like, I don't know. Not that he's not a good actor and didn't do a competent job. It's just not my John Candy.
I hear you. No, not my kind of candy.
I like when he's acting with abandon.
Yeah, no, same. Variety called this more of a collection of bits than a coherent story. I'd say that's fair. The New York Times said that it was a wan but good-natured hot weather comedy with big debt to National Lampoon's Vacation, as I mentioned. And someone from the Miami Herald, I didn't get their name, said, "It's hard to figure how the combination of director Carl Reiner and comedian John Candy and a movie with the title Summer Rental could come to nothing."
Yeah.
It does feel like a missed opportunity.
It's a missed opportunity. He needs to, we want to be on goofy misadventures with him. We don't want to see him trying to keep a family unit together in that patriarchal, like adroit way. That's that's where people like Chevy Chase, who like, you want to laugh at them failing and feeling bad.
Yeah.
It's funny to watch them get frustrated.
Right.
With John Candy, he's having a hard time cracking open an egg, and I'm like, I don't want to see you struggle. I want to see you joyous.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
This is just my pigeonholing. This is my typecasting.
No, not at all. I'll take this as a segue into talking about our director, Carl Reiner. So, I mean, Carl Reiner is a legend, and what I'm about to share does not cover the entirety of this man's career, influence, etc. So I'm already gushing. I know. But Carl Reiner was born in 1922 in the Bronx to Irving and Bessie Reiner. His father was a watchmaker, and both he and his older brother served in World War II. Both veterans. As a teen, Carl was a machinist. He used to fix sewing machines, but it was when his brother told him about a free workshop and drama that was being put on by the Works Progress Administration, the WPA. That was what got Carl Reiner first involved in theater and everything. You know, WPA, most people are like, well, they build bridges, but it's like, yeah, they did a lot of other shit too, though. Like, that we don't do anymore. And in the Second World War, Carl was a radio operator. He got really sick, though, at some point, had pneumonia for weeks. And I don't know how this happened, but he ended up being sent for training for French translation. Like, they sent him to Georgetown. Like, go learn how to speak French, and then we'll bring you back. And then I don't know what happened after that, because he ended up being sent to Hawaii to be like a teleprinter operator. I don't know what that is. I assume it's something to do with printing out messages that come through. I don't know. But he's in Hawaii, which is cool, you know. And it was there that he saw a performance of Hamlet that was put on by the Special Services Division, which is literally the entertainment branch of the armed forces, which he ended up auditioning for them because he's like, well, I got to do this. Come on. Like, I don't want to do this crap. I want to do that. And he gets in, and he auditioned for Maurice Evans and Alan Ludden, who both had like legitimate acting creds, but are known really for being, Maurice Evans was Dr. Zaius. So he auditioned for Dr. Zaius. He was also Samantha's father on Bewitched. And Alan Ludden was the host of the game show Password from like 1961 to 1980, which, again, before my time, but like these are strangely known people, you know, who weren't known as for these things yet. So Carl ends up performing for soldiers in the Pacific in places like Hawaii, Guam, Iwo Jima, Tainan, Saipan. He's honorably discharged in 1946, and he goes to Broadway. He gets cast on a variety TV show called Show of Shows, which was Sid Caesar, and a 90-minute variety show on NBC. You know, we're talking about comedy shows, and not SNL before it was SNL. It was certainly not that exactly, but it was a big deal. And he actually got some Emmys for acting on that show. And although he wasn't officially given any writing credit, this was the time where he met Mel Brooks and started pitching, you know, ideas in the moment, in the rehearsals. And so after that, he ended up formally beginning to write for Caesar's Hour, which was another Sid Caesar show. And this is when he's writing with Mel Brooks, Neil Simon, and Woody Allen, people like that. So really early days of late night television comedy writing. Brooks and Carl Reiner start appearing as a comedy duo on the Steve Allen Show. Carl always played the straight man, like to perfection. This is where they start to develop the 2,000-year-old man sketch that would end up becoming a bit and then an album and all kinds of things. Carl doesn't stop, though. He starts writing a TV show based on his personal and professional life, which he calls Head of the Family. And he writes out like 13 episodes, or he at least drafts the plots for it. The network didn't want Carl, though, to play the father. They never really explained why. They were like, we don't see it. So they recast it and renamed it The Dick Van Dyke Show.
Nice.
Which then, Carl, wildly successful. He ended up earning, in his entire career, he got like 11 Emmys. Wow. I mean, the guy is part of TV history and TV legend. And he didn't stop. He started making films in the 70s. He started directing things. Where's Papa is like kind of a cult classic. Oh God, The Jerk. He directed that. He directed a lot of Steve Martin comedies like The Man with Two Brains, All of Me, and Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. He just never stopped working. And then, beyond that, I mean, he's been given numerous awards like the Mark Twain Prize for Humor. He's got a Hollywood Walk of Fame star. He got it in 1960. It's been there for a while. He's done appearances, guests, specials, voiceover work. He's done everything. He's been working forever. And one of the details I really loved that I learned was that in 2012, he joined Twitter to keep up with his grandson, Jake. He posted once a day. And that meant ultimately he ended up with 6,520 tweets, 367,000 followers, and at 98, he was the oldest celebrity to actively use Twitter.
Oh, good for him.
Good for Carl. Keeping fresh.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just a little bit about, there's so much more. He's written dozens of books. Like, the guy was prolific, and it's not my favorite show, but if you've ever watched Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, that episode that he's on, he ends up taking Jerry with him back to like have dinner with him and Mel Brooks, which apparently every night they get together, have dinner, and watch Jeopardy, which was taped earlier, and then maybe watch a movie. And he said, and then Mel Brooks would always fall asleep in the chair, his mouth up every time.
That's charming.
And it's like they had this incredible friendship that when Carl Reiner passed away in 2020, it might be stupid to say, but I'm like, oh, how's Mel gonna handle this? Because like this is like his like a life partner, you know. Some people might remember Carl Reiner as Saul Bloom in Ocean's 11 and 12 and 13. So if you don't know him from anything else, you might know that. I don't know. I don't know what you guys watch. I feel like 10 years ago, Ocean's 11 was a surefire. Everyone's like knows it, seen it. And now like,
it's not
who gives a shit? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, except.
Came and went.
Anyway, so that's Carl Reiner, just the tip of the iceberg with that guy. But it's shocking, though, like given all of that, what a miss this is.
Right.
And I don't have any questions. I would not watch it again.
Yeah.
Favorite secondary character for me was Scully.
Yeah, same.
So
yeah, easy.
I'm not trying to kill this episode, but I mean, this was just not very fun.
There's just not a whole lot else to unpack about it.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks so much.
This might be one of our shortest episodes.
Wow.
And The Mirror was pretty short too.
Yeah.
Mirror. Still don't remember.
Yeah. Whatever.
Is anything else we want to address with that?
It's at least it's 90 minutes.
Yeah, it was 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was pretty checked out by the end, and the end credits came up and I was like, oh, it's over.
Thank you. It's like a mercy off, because it's not like there was any sort of denouement. They win the race and then just credits.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, great.
Just bam, done.
Awesome. Okay. Let's go.
Yeah.
That's nice with the pictures, the payoff and the credits with the pictures. She's been taking the mom's been taking pictures throughout the whole movie. And so during the end credits, they're doing the pictures thing, which is kind of like in The Hangover when they do the pictures thing. Although in The Hangover, it's more useful because you're actually seeing. Yeah. It's deepening the story because you're seeing what they did the night before. But whereas you're just seeing John Candy.
It's like stills from the movie.
Just the stuff you already just saw. So it didn't really enhance anything, but it's nice that you got the pictures, I guess.
Did you see, I'm sorry to interrupt, but did you see that incredible thread of finding those moments in movies and TV shows where they show the family in the frame and it's really badly photoshopped. Like they just, drop like Dennis Quaid's face over, and like this person started a thread on Twitter of just like screenshotting every time they saw them.
Yeah.
And man, there was some really egregious ones.
I bet.
Goddamn. Anyway,
great.
I just had to mention it.
Good times.
This would be one of them. I adore John Candy. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was one of those copies we had in the house. Like we had a tape of that, and it got watched a lot. And it's hard to speak ill of it and him. Like I think the sort of cynical nature of how this movie got made, it was just sort of like, okay, like whatever.
It's
let's
like
do it.
going to see like Grown Ups. It's like they make these kind of movies now.
Exactly.
Grown Ups 2.
You just don't remember them.
Like, yeah, it's just that kind of. It's just kind of throwaway. It's just a throwaway kind of.
It's a summer block. Well, I guess technically this is a summer blockbuster, and that it did. Well, I don't know what defines something as a blockbuster officially. Do you know? What block is being busted? Is it that like previous record?
I guess I don't really know. I assume it's just that it made a lot. It made it. I feel like when it's like it makes more than double the budget or some shit.
Okay, interesting.
On a technical level, I'm not 100%.
It's like skyscraper. Like when does a building become a skyscraper? Right. How many floors do you have
then
to
you
have?
Start scraping the sky.
Ow!
That's pretty obvious. I think. Didn't you see the little scrapies in the sky? That's a skyscraper.
That's adorable.